Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here with a special report for you about North Korea. Yesterday, they did test uh, a missile, so they are continuing to develop and test missiles. And I found a good article and some interesting information that I wanted to bring up. So let's have at it. Um, It says that North Korea has fired 12 missiles during 9 tests in 2017. In February 12th, they fired a medium-range ballistic missile with solid fuel. March 6th, they fired a extended range missile, which is it's a short range missile or a medium range missile, depending on the version. March 22nd, they're not sure what kind of missile it was. April 4th, the KN-17, which is a short-range ballistic missile or medium-range ballistic missile, which is a solid fueled. Same thing in April 16th. April 29th, it's unclear what type of missile they're apparently it has these asterisks to say that experts are divided on what type of missile it was. Also says experts are divided on how to classify the missiles, as in the KN-17 or the Hwasong 7. So that's why it says short range or medium range, because must be in the middle, and they're not sure how to classify it. And remember, this is being developed. These missiles are being developed by North Korea, so they're gonna have unique attributes. They're not going to be just like the U.S. or other Western civilization missiles. So then you have the Hwasong 12 on May 14th, intermediate range ballistic missile, which is liquid fueled, and these other three are solid fueled. The KN-15, which is the same one as February 12th, was launched in May 21st, and that's, remember, the medium range. And then they're assumed to be the Scud in May 29th. So, well, this is the extended range Scud. I'm not sure if they are talking about the extended range Scud or a short range one, but I don't think it matters that much. It says 1 was an intermediate range missile, 2 were medium range, 8 were either short or medium range, and the range of 1 is unknown, according to various North Korea watchers. So here's the distance that each one can go. So by classification, so a short range is less than 1,000 kilometers, medium range is 1,000 to 3,000, intermediate range is 3,000 to 5,500, and intercontinental ballistic missiles over 5,500. So I think part of the worry here for North Korea is not only that they're well, first of all, they have a great diversity of missiles, and shorter distance isn't always bad, because if all you need it to go is a short distance, a lot of times these might have other benefits. Maybe they can carry a heavier payload or something like that. But then you have your intercontinental ballistic missiles over 5,500, and this is what like the U.S. is really getting worried about, is that the North Korea is developing these more and more. So so it says, is the pace of missile testing speeding up? Less than 6 years into his reign, Kim Jong-un has tested more missiles than his father and grandfather combined. And this is really showing how North Korea has really ramped this up. Kim Tu-sung was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 total. Kim Jong the second did only 16, up by 1. And then Kim Jong-un is already at 21, 27, 30, 42, 66, 79. Or 78, I'm sorry. 78 missiles so far. And that really shows they feel they're close. The only reason they would be testing this many missiles is because they must feel they are close. During the first months following the inauguration of U.S. President Donald Trump, Pyongyang conducted a similar number of launches as it did during the same period in 2016. However, North Korea did not conduct any missile tests during the 2 months from Trump's election to his inauguration. Then North Korea missile tests from January to June, 5 successes and 5 failures in 2016, with a total of 10 tests. 2017, a total of 12 tests, with 7 successes, up 2, 4 failures, down 1, and 1 unknown. The political turmoil in South Korea, which led to the eventual impeachment of former President Park Geun-hye, may also have factored into North Korea's decision-making. Possible, I'm not really sure that really meant anything, to be honest, but Pyongyang has tested an average of 1 missile per week in the 3 weeks following the election of President Moon Jae-in, Park's successor. Sorry, I'm probably destroying these names. But North Korean missile launches, so you have 14 North Korean missile launches in successes in 2016, 10 failures, and in 2017 you had 7 successes, 4 failures, and 1 unknown. And the difference here is this is a missile test compared to missile launches. So looks like those are a little distinct because we have a lot more launches than tests. Why do they do the tests? They need to conduct tests to perfect the technology. Experts say with each test, North Korea can improve its missile technology. Some have speculated that the United States has tried to meddle with the program using cyber methods, which could halt progress. This is certainly possible, but I do think that the United States doesn't mind watching the missile tests. Like, a lot of times I don't think the U.S. wants to meddle because they want to see how the test ends up so that they know about where North Korea is. Otherwise, they're not going to have much of an idea where North Korea is in development. The tests also are thought to be timed for maximum political impact. All of this applies equally to the North's nuclear test program, which has typically followed a similar pattern. And we don't really need to go through that. So how close are they? So far, North Korea hasn't developed a delivery system capable of reaching beyond Asia, but the country's closest neighbors, South Korea and Japan, are vulnerable targets for Pyongyang's existing arsenal. Michael Hayden, the director of the CIA from 2006 to 2009, believes that should Pyongyang continue at its current pace, the country could develop an indigenous missile that can reach Seattle and carry a North Korean-built nuclear warhead before the end of Trump's first term. The country's progress, however, remains somewhat unclear. In his New Year's address, Kim said, "Research and development of the cutting-edge tech weapons are actively progressing and strengthening our defense capabilities, including last-stage preparation of tests for intercontinental ballistic rocket launch have been continuously succeeded." succeeding. That particular opaque appraisal makes it hard to telegraph exactly how far away the country is from developing an intercontinental ballistic missile, says John Delury, a professor at Seoul's Yonsei University's Graduate School of International Relations. To some extent, this is more a missile crisis than a nuclear crisis. What the Americans are really worked up about is the ICBM capability, he said. And so it seems they are getting close. They're having lots of tests. And, a lot of these tests are succeeding. Actually, from what I read, I'm not sure if it was in this article. I'll see if I can find it quick. But they're expected to actually be pretty much done testing by the end of 2017, and have their intercontinental ballistic missile. That's the expected timeline. And I wanted to just go through really quickly some estimated missile ranges from North Korea. So it says that 1,500 kilometers, it's the Nodang missile, can reach Tokyo. And then there's 4,000 kilometer Musadan, can hit Guam. Then there's you get to the intermediate range, which is the KN-14, has a 10,000 kilometer range. These are maximum ranges, which is well past Hawaii. Washington, D.C. Can get hit by the KN-08 at 11,500 kilometers. And then there's a 15,000 kilometer Taepodong-2, which is, basically can strike probably over 75% of the world. And one interesting thing I wanted to bring up, I'm hearing, all this about the U.S. And maybe it's just because I'm not in Europe, but I'm not hearing a whole lot of Europeans get worried about this, and I really think they should. Because while the U.S. is the target for a lot of these, for a lot of the hostilities where North Korea is constantly, talking tough against the United States and saying they're trying to develop weapons that can hit the U.S., nuclear weapons. Pretty much, if it can hit the U.S., it can hit Europe. There's not a huge difference. And I did want to go over some missile ranges that are these are missile ranges that are not full maximum range. Like these are all, 15,000, that's the maximum range, but that's basically with no warhead or very light warhead. So if we go to a full warhead, and what the missile's target range is, basically what they're developed to basically go, the KN-08 goes down to about 5,000 plus kilometers, and the Taepodong-2 is down to 6,700, which this says that the KN-08 is 11,500. So that's a very significant decrease. And then the Taepodong-2 is 6,700, so down from 15,000. And then there's this KN-14, it says 8,000 here. And so a full warhead really doesn't cut its range down much. Of course, these are all just estimates. But I wanted to show you guys that, if we're looking at like the 8,000 range we'll go by. Spain's a little out of it with 9,770 kilometers between Spain and North Korea. But France is, a little under 9,000, getting close. The United Kingdom is 8,400. So that's getting real close. Like maybe they could try it. And then if we go to Germany, 8,154, that's basically within range of a nuclearized, according to this, a nuclearized KN-14 can basically hit Germany. So otherwise you have like the Czech Republic, Denmark. These are European countries that are within range. So Switzerland, let's see, where Bulgaria. How far is Belgium? Less than 8,500. So these are all right on the verge. They could. It's not just the nuclear ambition either. You're talking like if they could just use non-nuclear, or if they could miniaturize the nuclear a little bit more. But even non-nuclear attacks, North Korea can actually hit Europe pretty easily. So, and if we look at these lines, the KN-14, it's saying it can hit Seattle here, and then it can hit down in Australia, up through the Middle East, pretty much misses Africa, and then you can see cuts right through Germany and a lot of these Central to Eastern European countries. But like I said, this is, not maximum range. Maximum range actually covers all the way down to basically Florida, and it covers the UK and Spain and Portugal. Maximum range covers like most of the world. Besides, South America is pretty much the safest place. And so I just wanted to bring this up. Europeans, I think, are they have their head a little stuck in the sand, and they're not seeing this. From what I've seen, talking to Europeans, they're always thinking in terms of the U.S., but they should start thinking in terms of themselves. And I believe the threat that is provided to not only the United States but Europe is what could cause a global war. I don't think it would be World War III. I think it would be I wouldn't be surprised to see an alliance between, maybe alliance is a strong word, but, the U.S., China, Russia, the entire Western world, and just pound North Korea to try to end it as quickly as possible, and before they can get off a lot of artillery and create massive amounts of casualties. I could see that. Maybe Russia could, maybe they make things simpler. Maybe Russia just protects its border and doesn't actually go in, and maybe China doesn't actually go in, and just the NATO countries go in and pound it. But I think if China came from the north, and if China came from the north, and then the U.S. and NATO countries came from the south, then it could be ended relatively quickly, I think. So then you also have like Japan is getting pretty antsy, and the U.S. has a responsibility to protect Japan because they don't have a military, but Japan's not going to sit around much longer and wait without building up their own military. And we don't want this to become a situation where, or maybe we do, I guess, it depends what your stance is, but if we want to maintain a demilitarized Japan, then we have to take care of the North Korea situation. And I've thought about this, like, how would you do it without, what happens to all the North Koreans? Well, my best idea is you take, you topple the North Korean government, and you return North Korea and South Korea back into Korea. You basically have South Korea annex all of North Korea. And then I would create the demilitarized zone, keep it where it is, and move it all the way north to the border of China. That will help China and Russia feel safer from the U.S., and it will create a much bigger buffer zone for Seoul. And so I think something like that could work, where if China tried to invade South Korea at any point, South Korea would have a much, before anybody got to their capital, they'd have a much better idea of possibility, and a much better possibility of seeing the invasion coming. So overall, I think something like that could work, and I think the United States should get involved. It's, in my opinion, irresponsible how long the leaders have let this go on. We'll play around in the Middle East and all of that, toppling these governments, but when it comes to North Korea, who's actively trying to, they call it defense, and in some ways it is defense, but they're actively trying to get a nuclear weapon, and not only that, but attach it to something that can strike the U.S. and Europe. And this just goes ignored pretty much. I mean, we talk and talk and talk, and nothing ever happens. Well, at some point, you have to change what you're doing and stop talking. I shouldn't say talking. We don't actually do much talking with each other. It's more sending each other signals through military drills and all the soft power. But I think this would be a legitimate war. Like, the threat is severe enough, and North Korea has been threatening enough that I wouldn't have a problem with going to war with North Korea. And I think that would be a much more just war than Syria, probably more just than Iraq, and possibly even more just than Afghanistan. So, anyways, that's all I have for you now. Let me know what you think, if you think that we should just keep talking to North Korea, or how do you think we should resolve the situation? Do you like my idea of a united Korea, basically going back to the COREA Korea? Or would you like to see some other, we install some other North Korean government and keep North and South Korea separate? The people of North and South Korea, a lot of them aren't that different. They've been living in different countries, but a lot of them are like family members and stuff. And I'd much rather see the North Koreans go to South Korea than have them go to and be ruled by South Korea than have them be ruled by China. So, and certainly better than having them ruled by Japan. So, I think there's a possibility of that working. It would be a culture shock for the North Koreans, and it would take a couple generations for them to catch up, because they have been living in such old ways, I guess. They'd have to figure out how to use the internet. So, anyways, let me know what you think. Have a good day, guys.